Hey there, so today we're going to talk about renting at Fort Eisenhower and what your expectations can be. So first things first is we have very low housing inventory. In my 20-year career, this is probably the lowest few years of inventory I've ever seen. So hopefully it gets better soon, but when you have low inventory, it makes it very competitive to get a house. So it's also very expensive, a lot more expensive than what people realize. So there's a lot of fees that are involved with renting a home, and we're going to go over those real quick. So first things first, when you do find a home, you're going to need to pay an application fee for each adult that's living in the home. You can expect those application fees to be between $60 and $75 per adult, and they're going to be looking at your credit score. Ideally, it needs to be higher than 600. 620 would really be better. They're going to be looking at your most recent payment history. If you have a lot of lates, bankruptcies, evictions are a huge problem that can cause you to be denied. They're looking at payment history, and credit score is a risk indicator on how well you're going to make the payment and take care of the home ultimately. So in addition to credit and evictions, they'll be looking at your rental history, the places that you've lived, and they're going to be reaching out to those landlords to get what your payment history is and how well you take care of that home. Next thing they're going to be looking at is your income. They're going to want your income to be 3 times the rent amount. Your gross income needs to be 3 times the rent amount. So if your rent is $2,000 a month, then they're going to be looking for the income to be $6,000 a month to afford that rental property. Next thing is going to be pets. With it being such a competitive market, pets are going to be less favorable. If you are applying for a home, you'll notice that often these properties have multiple applications, and they're going to prefer tenants without pets. Now, if you can get your pet to be accepted, you can expect to pay pet fees. So you're talking about upfront non-refundable pet fees that can be $250, $300 per pet upfront, non-refundable, plus monthly pet rent per animal. And this is to obviously pay for the wear and tear of that property that the pet would do in addition to a normal wear and tear. So what we also want to mention is that there are a lot of rental scams online, especially to those who are moving here sight unseen. So you want to be very wary of scams online, especially on the big websites, Zillow. Anybody can list their home for sale or rent on Zillow, so you have to be very careful. We do send out verified lists of all the properties that are available in our multiple listing service. So we can narrow those lists down for you by bedrooms, pets, whatever is important to you, locations, schools, whatever you need. Just reach out to us and we can help narrow down this list for you. We want you to start early in your research so you can be familiar with the properties, what they rent for, how long they're on the market, and just start reaching out to property managers and making contact before you arrive to the area. Tenant representation is very low in our area. I don't know anyone who does tenant representation. So your best bet in getting a home is going to be contacting those property managers directly. So when we send out these listings from our multiple listing service, it's going to have me as the contact information. But the fastest way to track down the property manager for the list that we send out is to do a quick Google search of the address, and you should be able to cross-reference who that property manager is, and you want to reach out to them directly. And that's going to give you the best chance of getting that property. They're reviewing the applications directly. They know exactly what the owner's threshold is for what they're looking for, and it's going to be your fastest way of getting that house. If you're unable to determine who the property manager is, reach out to me. I'm happy to help look up that information and answer any questions about property managers or any listings that you find online. If something seems off, too good to be true, definitely reach out to me and I will help you verify who the owner is of that property so we can help you prevent getting scammed, losing any money. So if you're going to be renting a home at Fort Eisenhower. So let's say you have 2 adults and the rent is going to be $2,000 a month. So you're going to pay $150 in application fees up front. And this is going to be usually per property. A lot of people are having to apply to multiple properties. You can ask the property managers if they have any other properties available, and you might be able to request your application be moved to another property if you don't get the one you initially applied for. But you have to request it. If you don't request it, they're not going to steer you towards another property. Okay. So $150, let's say you only applied for one property, you spend $150. The rent is going to be $2,000 up front for your first month. You're looking at your security deposit being at least 1 month's rent. A lot of times it's going to be 1.5, closer to 2, just depending on the threshold of the manager and the owner and how lenient they are. And then if you have 2 pets, you're looking at $300 per pet up front and a pet fee. So that's $600. And you can probably expect to have a higher pet fee if it's a bigger house or a larger breed dog. Large, aggressive breeds are just not that easy to rent with. And a lot of people, they actually buy a house because of the limited choices they have available for pets, especially if they have large, aggressive breeds. So keep that in mind. And so if you add up all of your out-of-pocket expense on renting a home at Fort Eisenhower and the rent's $2,000 a month, that adds up to $5,750 out-of-pocket expense just to move into a rental property. That's really expensive. And if you are having trouble with the out-of-pocket expense, a lot of people would actually consider buying a home because you can a lot of times buy a home for a lesser out-of-pocket expense than you can renting. So if you're interested in learning more about that, reach out to me. Again, I'm Christine Keller. I'm your ambassador here at Fort Eisenhower, and I'm happy to answer any of your housing questions, renting, buying, or on post. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.